right, guys, we got a really good one today. Our video we're going to be looking at is KYP Know Your People, or Know Your Personnel in football terms. It's about leadership. Go ahead, subscribe, hit that like button, help us push in the algorithm so we can get this good coaching information, this good swimming technique information to the Swimverse, and let's get to it.
Yes, sir. They want to forfeit the fucking game. We let them and they 12 and 13. So now we're going to beat their ass. Do you understand? Yes, sir.
Sorry, guys. It's I got a little error going on. It's not showing up right here in my screen capture, so we're going to listen to it through my mic. Sorry, guys.
Hey, for every fucking thing. We ran through their fucking banner. I ain't know nothing about it. We didn't know nothing about it. The kids didn't listen. Y'all did what you had to do. Do you understand? Yes, sir. But now they for the fucking pay. They president want to be an ass. They want to forfeit the fucking game. We let them and they 12 and 13. So now we're going to beat their ass. Do you understand? Yes, sir. We're going to have some fucking fun kicking a motherfucker in their ass. Do you understand? Yes, sir. We run the Cam County. It's our fucking city. We run this bitch. Do we understand? Yes, sir. Stay County run Decatur on 3. 1, 2, 3.
So one thing I always wonder, right? Let's look at these comments first. Because I think this is something important. I want the swimming world to know, right? Obviously, demographics is a very black, southern culture, right? Not just black, but it's the South with an F, South. Right? Kids would be calling coach when they're 30. I almost tackled a random dude watching this, right? Like, it's all positive. Where's the film? I want to see the game after this speech. Where's the mom comment? I got to tell you, as a mom, I hate all the profanity in football, which is kind of a funny thing that made me think. I was like, doesn't she mean profanity in sports? So it was just something that, anyway, that's going to pop up again in our conversation. But after I heard this, I wanted to run through a brick wall myself. They took 12 and 13, we 11. I like that. That was a funny comment. But yeah, I want you to just see, you have these black athletes and it's all positivity, and he's over here cussing and all this crazy shit, right? So one thing I've always wondered, I need to ask this. Let me know in the comments, actually, especially if you're a parent or even if you're an athlete. I guess those are the two demographics I really want to hear from. Demographics, geez, I'm talking. I'm not gonna say that. The two demographics that I want to hear from. If you're an athlete, would you like your coach to talk like this? And if you're a parent, would you want your coach to talk about like that? It's not the right word, but would you tolerate? Would you be tolerable? Intolerant? Would you be intolerant towards this? And what I mean by that is it an absolute no-go, or is it I'll just look away when it happens? I didn't see the coach do anything. Helen Keller didn't see nothing, didn't hear nothing. Because it's just something I wonder, right? In every sport, let's just say it. In every black sport, or in every sport, which they all happen to be black sports, coach is cussing. And apparently at this young of an age. And I'm not saying it needs to be this crazy in swimming, but yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Are you completely intolerable? There's no way, or intolerant? There's no way that this can be in swimming. And as an athlete, or if you were an athlete, would you like your coach to talk like this? I know if I was a college coach, I would be using the whole colorful language of the dictionary as a college coach. We'd be having a lot of fun. But yeah, at a club level, would you be? Let me know what you think about that. But the main thing. I guess that is the main thing. Let's get to the next video. Oh, wait. think, was that our main? No. Okay. Here's our next video. See, I don't think it's going to play. So we're going to keep listening through the mic, guys.
As swim coaches during taper. I think a lot of us get to this point in the season and we suddenly feel this wave of stress and anxiety over the idea that maybe our season plan isn't going to work. I think it's absolutely critical as swim coaches to maintain our confidence in the season plan that we executed.
We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've got too far.
There's a reason that you created that plan earlier in the year, and you need to stick to it. If at this point you start demonstrating stress and anxiety, believe me, your swimmers will feel that, and it'll be this self-fulfilling prophecy of slow swimming. If the coach is confident in the work that has been done, then there's no reason for the swimmers to believe that they won't swim fast. Along those same lines, there's no reason for us as coaches to overhype the meet that we're prepping for. It's not our job to raise those expectations. We could do the opposite by being a calming presence for them when they get to pool deck. Confidence, belief, and support. That's all they need at this point in the season. What is our...
I agree completely. Shout out to Coach Jake. You can see right there, Coach Jake Swim, __. Go give him a follow. It's kind of funny. So, like, at UT, right, Eddie, like, wouldn't sleep during taper. And I think it's just because he was just nervous he'd ruin it, which is crazy. Like he, if anything, could have over-tapered us. Honestly, if Eddie had over-tapered us, we would have been unstoppable. University of Texas would never lose in NCAAs. Y'all may not believe that, but Eddie's it feels more comfortable with us going in under-tapered, and as we do less, like, overall swimming, like warm up, warm down, after the meet, warm up, like all that yardage, because that yardage does go into your taper. And if that's swimming up, which, like, if you're a low yardage team, if all of that is up from your taper, you're going to end up blowing your taper mid-meet. But anyway, so he would like that less work to allow us to taper into the meet. And that's why our last day is always our best day. But the thing about at UT is we lie. Lie. And it's better if your athletes are lying to your other athletes. And what I mean by that is, I didn't know this as a freshman. Obviously, they make sure not to make sure that the freshmen don't know about this. But they would just tell us, like, oh, you're going to swim so fast. Like, is your first taper? Oh, is your first Texas taper? Like, oh, you're going to kill it. Like, they would hype it up. And, like, you go into that meet just, like, believing you're about to, like, have the best swim ever, right? And I remember Austin Suroff, we get there first day of the meet. He does a time trial for the 100 back and goes, like, 46.6, makes NCAAs as a freshman. And, that set us off. Everybody's super turned after that. But, yeah, it's like, if you can organize it, especially people who are, like, new to the group, like, figure out a way to set up that energy. And like he said, the thing about taper, like, and I'm gonna give y'all a little kind of insider about me. My quasi self-diagnosed ADD and autism. When I get to a point where I know something doesn't matter, I like stop caring. Like, I'll start self-sabotaging just like little things because it's like I can't ruin it. Like, so it's like if I'm a little late, like, doesn't matter because it's not gonna ruin the taper. Obviously, that's unprofessional. And it's got to be in trouble. But the point I'm making is when it's time to rest, like, to me, the season's over. Like, all the important part of the season is when you're training. And, like, once you get to taper, like, it's just time to not mess it up. Like, if you know how to calculate your training and the athlete breaking down, shout out to Eddie Reese, the master of this, and like where they are or how beat down they are when you taper, like, you can't ruin it, like, because they're going to be doing less, so it's not like you need the whole practice time, so you could show up late and still get done, get everything you need to done. And it's just like, it's like, I like it too because I relax, like I disengage literally. Right, and that's why I end up, doing all these stupid things, because it's like, I don't need to be engaged anymore. Like, it's done. Like, we're about to ball out. All I gotta do is show up, like, and give them a number. That's how I taper. Shout out to Eddie Reese. That's also an Eddie thing. Like, I just need to know what they did and give them the right number for their races, and like, it's over. The season's over. A month out, the season's over. Or not a month, but you get what I'm saying. So. Confidence, guys. Confidence. And the confidence comes in season and training, really. Because at the time you get the taper, it's time to chill up, get the floaties out, laid back, take that Mai Tai and just chill. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get to the next video. So now we are at the video where we are, our title, our namesake, KYP, Know Your People, and how leadership is about servanthood. So we're going to watch it first, and then we're going to talk about it. Very important video. Like, if you're a coach, you may think like you're being a servant. I'm telling you, and this is my issue with swimming, is we think we know it all. It's different in other sports. Like you just saw with the cussing, right? So we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about not necessarily the difference between swimming and coaching, but what we need to add to swimming that is present in other sports. Let's get it.
One of the best lessons that I learned here at James Madison, my quarterback coach, he taught me the importance of KYP. You guys know what KYP, Know Your Personnel, but we would always say know your people. My quarterback coach said, hey, that if you know, what's your name? If you know Andrew can only catch the ball here, but you throw the ball here, that's a bad pass. I said, come on, coach. Nah, you tripping on that. Andrew better catch that pass, all right? He said, no, that I need you to be so precise. I need you to know your teammates so much to the point where you serve them from their strengths. You serve them for what they need. See, when you know your people, KYP, you're willing to serve from their view, not from you. One of the best lessons that
All right, now some of you are going to be thinking, yeah, I do that as a coach. We're going to talk about the difference between what goes on in other sports when you hear that and what goes on in swimming. Okay? In other sports, we're just going to talk about the other sports and then you can figure out. We'll just take it where it needs to go, right? So in other sports, and a lot, it's because it's a team sport. I think this is probably why it gets lost. You're doing things as an athlete. So I embody this. I'll tell you right now, wherever I go, the culture changes. Okay. UT, Team Elite, culture changes. Okay. UT, I changed UT's culture for about 2 years after I left, and then it started going, never mind, but it changed. It went on to be something else. But yeah, during my time there, my hand thumbprints were all over that thing. But in other sports, right, like for us to win a game, you have to do your job, which means I need to understand your job from your perspective. And I think I'm gonna make this metaphor that I've made in a different video. And me being a good teammate, a good leader, isn't me bossing you around. It's me helping you see your best interest based on who you are and what your assignment is. So like when I am in a position of servitude, right? If I know this, we're gonna talk hoops, right? If I know, we're in a zone, right? Say we're in a zone. And for those of you who don't know what a zone is, this is what a zone is. All right, so I'm going to be one of the X's. The team we're playing against is going to be the O's. So here's your three-point line. Here's your key, where the free throw line is, right? Three-point line, key is here in the middle, free throw line's right there. So we're going to be in a 2-3 zone. Like I said, we're X's, Dax. And then here's the other. So if they're going to break our zone, this is probably what they're going to be in. Okay. So we're in a 2-3 zone, so we're the X's. So we're here. I'm under the rim. I'm guarding the paint. I'm the big man. That's my house. You come in there, I'm going to put you on your ass, elbow in your throat. Wing defender, and then we have a key defender on the right, key defender on the left, and then they're probably going to be in a 1-3-ish or 3-1-2 zone beater. So 1-3 across the middle, 2 at the bottom. Right, sometimes you have a weird 1-1 combo, but that's what we're going with, right? And usually they're in a, never mind, that's not important. About to teach y'all, open up a basketball class. Now, if I know, so he, in this specific time, if the ball is here, All right, there's the basketball. Right now, these two guys in the zone, they're going to stick this man, kind of. They're kind of here in the middle. Right, my guys. Right, and I'm kind of, in a weird way, responsible for all three of these guys. They're kind of responsible for this spot and this spot. Right, and that's why it's a zone beater, because you can see how they're kind of in the gaps of the zones, right? So if he dribbles this way, this guy's going to step into the zone, right? If the ball goes here, he's going to kind of shade this way. He's going to shade this way. Right now, when it gets to like here, usually what happens is everybody collapses. So the goal of a zone is you're trying to make sure the ball doesn't get into the middle. Because if it does, he can go anywhere because he pulls 3 defenders into him now. So I know that, right? This guy is no good. Now, I step up here to make sure that this guy is no good. I leave 2 people. They're going to move in closer, and they're going to get a layup. So I can't leave the paint or the rim, right? If, say, that they get closer to the paint and my teammates decide to help me out, this guy can now catch a pass, step in, and shoot a 3. Okay? So I have to understand as the big man how their offense works and make sure that I'm helping my teammates who in the best way, right? So I need to know, let's just say this guy starts floating this way, right? And so I'm just going to say my teammate's name, right? And then Eric's kind of pushed up. I'm going to let Eric know, hey, you've got one behind you. I'm not going to go out there because he's by the 3 line and Eric can get there. Right now, this guy, he might be a big, so he's going to stay close to me, which means that JJ, no, it's probably not JJ, it's probably Sterling. Sterling, who's here, I'm going to be like, hey, Sterling, I've got man, step up. So Sterling can now actually, instead of staying down here and worrying about this guy, he can move up and worry about this guy a lot more. Right? So I understand that Sterling's responsible for 2 people. I'm going to cut his job and make it easier by shading myself a little bit. Wow, sorry guys, I'm tripping. I'm going to move myself out here a little bit so Sterling can push up and guard this guy, which means now he doesn't have to worry about him, so he can move here or here. He doesn't have to worry about this guy, right, because he's probably stepped down, so he can play a little bit over. You see what I'm saying? All because we were able to let Sterling know, hey, I got him, right? That's me shading over a little bit. Right? Now, because it happens, let's just say an adjustment happens where they pass it. Well, we don't need to go into real offense. But the point I'm making is, if you're a leader, you have to really anticipate everybody's needs in the way that they need it. So I need to understand Eric is responsible on the left wing, right? I said it'd be the right wing, for 2 people. Right? This guy and this guy. How can I make Eric's job easier? How can I make Sterling's job easier? Who's responsible for these 2 guys? Let's clean this up real quick. Remember, they are the circles. We are the X's. Right, so Eric is responsible for these 2 guys. I'm responsible for these 3 guys. Sterling's responsible for these 2. JJ's responsible for these 2, and then kind of him. Tyler Guderian is responsible for really these 2. Really, nobody's kind of responsible for this guy. Jesus, man, I'm killing myself. All right, so me, I'm responsible for these 3. Eric's responsible for these 2. Sterling's responsible for these 2. JJ's responsible for making sure that this pass cannot be made. So he's responsible for kind of these 2, and then this guy if he drives. And then Tyler Goody, right? That's what we called him, Tyler Goody, or Good. I don't know why I say Goody. He's responsible for the same thing, right? Making sure that pass isn't coming this way. If he dribbles over, cut him off. And then these 2 guys, right? So it's like, okay, if I can really lock down this, it now becomes a 4-on-3. And that's what I set out to do. That's why I was Defensive Player of the Year, right? But it takes a lot of communication, right? I got to think about their perspective. What's their right? What's their left? What's their tendency? If somebody goes right, do they overplay? Do they underplay? And I need to make sure that when I communicate that, JJ left right now, does that mean there's a screen on the left or there's a man on the left, right? So I got to communicate those things from how they see the game, which means I need to understand how they see the game. Now, how do we take this into swimming? My Rakely technique solutions are about that. It's about how the athlete interprets swimming, how the coach sees swimming, how we interpret it, right? Because we can't feel, they can't see what they're doing. And linking this communication together, right? So, when I'm swimming with all these Olympians or whatever, when they're giving me tips, they're like, hey, they're watching me swim and they're like, okay, I know if you're moving like that, you're not making the right feeling. So they'll be like, okay, I need you to feel like you're doing this. So I'll swim, and if my movement still doesn't look like right, I know they're not feeling it, right? And eventually, or they know I'm not feeling it, and eventually it matches up, right? Now, I still don't know what it looks like, but I can now coach the feeling, right? So, or I can watch them swim to know what it looks like, right? But the point I'm making is, now when I go and I teach it, I get to do that in a one-on-one session and then take it to the club and see if I can convert it with the right communication, and then to scale, right, the whole team with the right communication, while transferring these elite level skills that I learned into simple drill progressions where we don't have to have a conversation where they're like, do more, do less, do more, do less, do it this way, do it that way. Like, no, just follow the drill progression as a kid, as a club team, as a group practice, and you can get the results. So, and we're changing the game, right? So that's how this stuff goes together. Like, you gotta really understand. My dad used to say this. I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna move on. A good student. Was it student? Yeah, it was a good student because he was talking about me learning. A good student. No, it was a good teacher. He said a good teacher can fit a square peg in a square hole. Or an average teacher can do that. A good teacher can change their, I think I'm about to butcher this. A good teacher can put the right peg in the right hole. A great teacher can change their specific peg to fit any hole. A great student can change their own hole to fit whatever peg they needed. Right. So the point is, he's like, yeah, you may not always have a great teacher, but you can be a great student. Okay. And that requires this level of thinking. If it's a high pass, I need to know that he can't catch a high pass. This teacher can't teach me a high pass, so I need to change. All right, we're on to our last video.
I require some reining in, because I'm as an athlete and a coach, I've always been willing to take risks. And, you probably couldn't see it in our values, but it's a big part of our value is, being willing to take risks, because that's how gold medals happen. That's how world records get set. That's how you win championships. You don't win things playing it safe. So it can not work out in your favor at times. When it doesn't work out, you look stupid. But more times than not, good things happen. But playing it safe at a place like Indiana.
Okay, I want to be clear about this because this is actually a really good clip, but there's a lot more nuance that we need to cover. So, one, being a risk taker, you're going to fail. He said it usually works out. It usually does not work out. Okay, because usually there's like maybe a variation of one solution. And if you're taking risks, you're trying to like find a needle in a needle stack, not a needle in a haystack. Think about how hard that is. A needle, the right needle in a needle stack. They all look the same. Okay, so you're going to fail a lot. But what happens is you're going to, when you find that needle, like imagine the level of proficiency you develop to understand how this needle that was created at the same manufacturing plant is different from this needle, right? You're going to be very developed And that's what he means when he says it always pays off. Because if you're working the process, yeah, you're going to fail. You're going to look embarrassing. But looking embarrassing is a part of becoming the person who can find the needle in the needle stack. So in that regard, you failing means you're getting better, which means it's working out. You're on your way. So, but in terms of like the actual external result, like, no, you're going to embarrass yourself a lot. And then the second thing he said about risk taking is I agree completely. Rakely it's not a risk because I know it's going to work. I know we're going to run the gauntlet, but to a degree it is a risk, right? To maybe the outsider, because I'm saying things that people are not privy to. You know, you're never going to have the chance to be a lame buddy with Aaron Pearsall. You're never going to have the chance to have Garrett Weber cracking jokes about how ugly your freestyle is and helping you out. You're never going to have the chance to have Ricky Barons teaching you about how to use your rotation to pull water. You're never going to have David Walters trying to breathe life into you and show you how to be a Longhorn and show you how to work hard and how to be a two freestyler or just a freestyler in general. You're not going to be in a backstroke practice with Ryan Lochte and Tyler Clary, who are clowning you because your backstroke is janky, but then at the same time they're helping you because it's janky, because they need a good training partner, right? And if I suck, that means I'm not helping them get faster. So taking all these things that you're never going to hear, and a lot of them fly in the face of common knowledge. And then now I'm saying, no, these are the actual answers. These things you've never heard of. People are going to look at it as a risk, right? And it is a risk to challenge the establishment, because if I didn't have the confidence I have in my mentors and my teammates who taught me these things, it would be a risk, right? Now, I know that they're right, so there's no risk in my mind. But, black kid that nobody knows, or the most known unknown, that's what I say like that. And kid, my bad. I'd be immature sometimes, a lot of the time. But this black guy we've never heard of, who is the most unknown, is telling us to do these things that don't make any sense and are actually the opposite of everything I've ever learned about swimming. Like, that's a risk for others to take. And, it works out in the end because I push myself to that level, finding that needle in the needle stack and being able to communicate it. But if I'm unwilling to take that risk that, okay, these guys are right, can I convert it to drills that work? Because, when I first made Rakely, like, I never used it on an athlete before. There's a chance that these things that they told me only work when you're at this level and don't translate to lower levels. That's a risk because some parent is paying good money for a lesson and I have to deliver. I have to. I don't have a choice to fail. So, I figure it out, but that's a risk on my behalf. Like, that's my reputation, right? Like, if I fail, my job Rakely has a street reputation of lying, right? So there's always a risk, but you can't be afraid. If you want to be great, everything that is short of great is a failure. So if you don't take the risk, you didn't accomplish being great. You take the risk, you don't accomplish being great. So you have a 100% chance, or what did I say? Not 100% chance. You have nothing to lose by taking a risk. That's your really only way to be great. So you got to take the risk. Like, you really don't have a choice. So that's also kind of what he was insinuating with. It normally turns out well because, like, a lot of times, and here's a secret for you before we close out, a risk is nothing more than a waiting game. Because it probably won't work, and as you become that guy who can you make the mistakes and prick yourself on your way to becoming the guy who can find the needle in the needle stack. Dang, it just left me where I was taking this. You're going to find the errors that everybody else is going through, which is going to allow you to help people, which is going to make you a success. Even if it's just 1% better, that 1% makes you better than everybody else who's trying to help people. And then it's 2%, and then it's 50%. 50% is a lot. So in the end, like, it does always work out, but you got to have time, because it takes time to make those mistakes, right? If you only have one meet a month, you can only really get better every 30 days. You see what I mean? So, if you're a risk taker, your only opposition is, I guess, one, having good ideas, right? But it's time. You know, how long are you willing to wait? How much are you willing to embarrass yourself to be great? And in my case, I'm going to go further than everybody else. So let us know, what do you think about taking risks? Drop a comment. Make sure that you subscribe, share, turn on your notifications bell. Help us be pushed in the algorithm so we can get this information out to coaches, out to athletes. We're trying to change the game. We need us to start thinking in a new way so that when people look at swimming, they're like, okay, this sport is actually, they think like athletes. They behave like athletes. They talk like athletes. I can enjoy this. And not what it is now where it's kind of just thing that's a bunch of weirdos, right? So let's become the cool kids. Help us push us into the algorithm. Once again, subscribe, like, turn on that notification bell. Peace.